Greetings. We're continuing with our Lenten reflection series with reflections from Spirit Wheel, meditations from an Indigenous Elder by Steven Charleston. This one is called Don't Be Afraid, and it's on page 221. Don't be afraid. Not you who live alone, not you who struggle with illness, not you who are walking toward forever. Don't be afraid. Not you or me or any of us. We don't have to be afraid. The beauty within us will never fade. The dreams we have will not disappear. The awareness we call ourselves will not simply go out like a light. What we sense within us, what we believe we feel around us, what we have understood as children, all of that is real. The good is real. The holy is real. There's a love beyond the scope of our language that knows each one of us by name. Don't be afraid. Love like that does not know how to say goodbye. So this week we are moving into Holy Week, and we also just heard last Sunday the gospel in which Jesus talks about the grain of wheat. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it falls into the ground and dies, it grows into a new sheaf of wheat and bears much fruit. Death is not the end, and Jesus is foreshadowing in that passage, of course, his death and resurrection and what will come after. And we find ourselves moving into Holy Week, those events where we remember the last week of Jesus's life, right? We're going to remember his ride into Jerusalem on the back of the donkey, being acclaimed by the crowds who shouted, "Hosanna, blessed is the King of Kings," right? And then in short order, those crowds turn around and shout, "Crucify him, crucify him." That's that change that happens in that gospel passage that we read on Palm Sunday. And it's such a short time between shouting Hosanna and shouting crucify him. And Jesus goes to the cross and dies, and on the third day is raised. These events are the spiritual heart of our faith, right? Our faith rests on two pivotal axes: the incarnation at Christmas and the resurrection at Easter. The incarnation is God coming into the world as a human being. And the moment that happened, death and resurrection was inevitable, because Jesus, living as God in the world, could not be tolerated by the world, right? The world could not tolerate Jesus, God, living in human form. And so in history, it was the Romans who crucified him. And death cannot conquer God. And so in history, Jesus was raised from the dead. So incarnation, death and resurrection, the two pillars, the two axes of our faith and of our church year. And so I know that going to church so many times during Holy Week is not always easy. And some churches don't have all of the services, but I urge you for your own spiritual health and well-being, do everything you can to participate in all the services of Holy Week. And if your local church doesn't have all of those services, which I completely understand, find something online. Find another local church that does have those services. Do what you can for your own spiritual vitality to participate in remembering those events of Jesus's entry into Jerusalem, the Last Supper and the foot washing on Maundy Thursday, the crucifixion on Good Friday, and celebrating the resurrection on Easter Sunday. Death is a part of life, And death does not have the last word. That's one of the reasons I love this reflection from Steven Charleston. Listen again, just to the last stanza. There's a love beyond the scope of our language that knows each one of us by name. Don't be afraid. Love like that does not know how to say goodbye. Love like that does not know how to say goodbye. Not before death, not during our life, not after death. We are held. We might feel afraid, but God reminds us, don't be afraid. Love like that does not know how to say goodbye. Friends, we are so richly blessed. Blessings on your Holy Week.